Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, Powers Taken Not Given, joined by IT specialist John Cooper Paz of Counterpoint Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. It sounds like you're coming in clear, TJ. I'm very
Finally!
happy about this. I'm sure our viewers who have been listening to Robot TJ for the past couple episodes will be very happy to know that we fixed the problem by turning it all off and turning it back on.
That's it. Nothing different. That does because John, I swear to God, I spent an hour today just finagling around. I had an interface I was working with, and I was unplugging it and turning it back on, and just clicking random things to find out what happened because it wasn't like this before, and now it is. And so I had it working when I texted you, and then tried it, and sure enough, it collapsed. I'm actually kind of sad because when I was on here a few minutes ago, there was a comment that said, "My heart, like it makes me nauseous seeing the title of the show." Did you see that? Something like thinking about that makes me nauseous.
No, I didn't see that at all. In fact, I didn't see the comments until we hit live on this. So the comments I'm seeing now
Oh,
are brand new, which reminds me
okay.
to remind our viewers, this is our Thursday show. We're being pretty nonchalant about it, so feel free to drop questions in the
Yeah,
comments.
yeah. There's
Uh,
we're pretty chill.
we're having some chill streams coming your way in the future here as we move through this just sludge of a Trump presidency where everything seems to be happening and nothing seems to be happening. It's a very weird state for us to be. Do you feel the same way? Like every time we sit here, it's like, oh, the same shit's happening. There's nothing new to
Yeah.
talk about. But then also on a daily basis, you're just like, holy shit, so much is happening. But it's all the same. Like there's nothing that's new. It's all the same shit, just continuing down the line in a very predictable way until you get something crazy. But then that doesn't last long because then it's just predictable from there. Does that make sense? Am I
No,
properly articulating how the current moment feels?
no. I had a friend of mine who posted something on Instagram. I feel like it was October or something, late last year. And he said, I don't really want to follow politics anymore. I really don't because nothing ever happens. And when something does happen, it's bad. And it's like, he's kind of right. I've been thinking that for a long time too. And a lot of it has to do with Trump's MO of
Mhm.
saying absurd things and ridiculous things, pushing the envelope, doing things that no one ever thought to do before. It kind of reminds you that the entire framework of the United States federal government is just a system based on handshakes and back slaps and duct tape and chicken wire. Like before Trump, no one would have imagined that during a government shutdown, the White House would post on every government website, the Democrats are to blame for the shutdown. That we've had plenty of shutdowns before, but it's like, oh, if you can't get through, make sure you blame the Democrats, even though we're in charge of everything. Trump is just like he's we say he's breaking the norms all the time, but it's true. But yeah, that went away and no one cares anymore. And it's hard to care
Mhm.
about something crazy now when you know something more insane is going to happen within a couple of weeks. So I agree.
Yeah, and it's weird because like if you look at like the storylines here, they're all batshit insane, right? Like if you look at just DHS in a nutshell, everything going on with DHS is a fucking Mel Brooks fucking comedy. Like Christy Noam, he doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. Kash Patel over the FBI doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. No one seems to know what the fuck they're doing, and it's led to 3 Americans being killed thus far, directly like on the streets, and then a couple dozen people killed in ICE detention centers. And that's like we have masked federal agents marching through the streets, going door to door, and yet now it just feels kind of normal. Feels kind of normal, and that sucks. And it's like, oh, business just continues. And then you look at the Pentagon and what Pete Heggs has committed multiple war crimes. Nothing happens about it. Nothing matters, and life just continues to go on. The tariffs have caused massive, widespread economic uncertainty and crashes, and the job market is actually putrid right now. Doesn't matter, life goes on. Like all of these things, it does matter. It does affect people like severely, but also it all seems sort of predictable now. Like it's not like I'm it's the London bombings. It's the near miss fallacy. It's enough of this crazy shit happens and you start to feel invincible to it. And it sucks, but that's how this shit happens. Like I'm describing how all of the questions we've ever had of how did the Germans just go along with it. We got the answers, TJ, and it's much less complicated than you think.
Yeah, we always envisioned that the people who would be the folks who take over the world, like the evil supervillains, were also super geniuses. We made a huge miscalculation here, and that we didn't realize that, oh yeah, there's actually a lot more dumb people than smart ones. So the dumb ones get in charge, and look, especially when you have someone like Donald Trump who values loyalty more than anything else, where we talk about his cabinet, how you have this island of misfit toys ass group of people trying to run the federal government. And look, this is what you get. This is exactly what you get. So it's not that shocking. One of which is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which, Jesus Christ, this guy. I don't know if you saw, when you mentioned how ridiculous everything is, I don't know if you saw this commercial. I don't know if a commercial is the right word, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. shared this on his Twitter, and I wanted to highlight this. So I don't know if you saw this, but it says, order yours today. And it's like for action figures. And I wanted to get your opinion on this, John, if you hadn't seen it.
Introducing the Secretary Kennedy action figure. With chronic disease running rampant, President Trump is sending one man.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Watch out! Red 40 is in your kid's lunch. Quick, increase your strength with real whole milk.
Wow, it's full of protein and healthy fats.
And ban Red 40 to the trash.
Take that.
Oh no, a peregrine falcon is stuck in the river. Quick, swap into your denim jeans and jump in.
Wow, waterproof jeans.
Oh no, the food pyramid puts Fruit Loops at the top.
My message is clear: eat real food.
Flip the pyramid to put the real food we need on top. Bring home the full Maha playset today with limited edition Iron Mike Tyson.
Eat real food or else.
Accessories sold separately. Battery, get active and eat real food.
That is an official release from the Department of Health and Human Services. And so, two questions for you, John. One, had you seen that? And two, what are your thoughts either way?
So I had not seen that, but I don't know. I kind of my thoughts are positive about this, DJ, and not necessarily positive. And I support anything the Maha movement's about because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. But it was well produced, unlike the Kid Rock video. Like, I'm just thinking of the Kid Rock workout video,
yes,
and how absolutely garbage that was. It was almost like they were trying to make it awful on purpose, but it just came across as unintentionally awful. This one kind of like it flowed. It had good visuals. It was kind of funny when his voice came out of the fucking action figure. That was really funny. That was legitimately, it made me, I don't know if it actually physically made me smile, but I smiled on the inside. It was well done. And I think it actually really sums up the entire ethos of this administration in that these people, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, all these people, they aren't there to do their jobs, guys. They are brands. They are brands that are running these departments. That is what they are. And this literally turning him into a children's toy that is reminiscent of toy commercials from when we were all in elementary and middle school, like that is exactly the brand that Donald Trump's administration is going for, and high level of execution on that brand. Like, do I think that that's what our government should be? No, of course not. But if it's going to be that, this is a really great like epitome of what that is.
Yeah, we mention all the time that people in power now are more interested in being social media influencers than they are with being politicians. And so that fits right into that vein. I did appreciate a couple things. One is how he went directly with hey, why do you wear jeans in the water all the time? And made it into a joke. That's the best way to do it. Like, not to be defensive or weird about it, but say, oh yeah, even my action figure has waterproof jeans. We're going to make it into a joke. I did have a question about the Fruit Loops thing. He said that Fruit Loops were on the top of the pyramid. We need to put real food that we need on top of the pyramid. Isn't the top of the pyramid the stuff you need the least?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. Yeah, no, that's also very funny. Like that's extremely funny. I didn't even pick up on that, but you're right. The top of the pyramid is the food you need the least.
Yeah, I don't.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I say, well, why would you want the top of the pyramid, like the stuff you eat sparingly, to have the good food? I don't know. That was odd, but maybe there's something about it that I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to. Oh, and also, we didn't even talk about like policy stuff in there. His crusade, the Maha crusade to get rid of red food dye. Like that's it. That's what's making Americans sick. That is what's giving everybody cancer. That's why everybody's obese. That's why we have congestive heart failure at every third household or something. That's it right there. If we only got rid of red food dye, that would fuck universal health care. We don't need that. We need to get rid of red food dye. And of course, John and I's favorite, real whole milk. They are bragging their asses off about the fact that they brought whole milk back to schools, and it's got vitamin D, it's got calcium, it's got what your kids need. And it's like, yeah, that's the hollow victory of the whole milk. They're holding on to that. That's pretty wild. I saw Colby while we were late. Colby says $5 says they're kissing each other, and that's why the stream is starting late. We were not kissing each other, but that was funny. That was funny, and I have to admit that was
would be
pretty
impressive
funny.
if we were, and then I ran back to Pennsylvania to that's why.
Yeah, John and I are separated by like 1,500 miles. I don't think that there's any chance that any kissing is going on. Right? We've literally only met each other once. But yeah, what else do we have here? I saw another one. Oh, John, you starred this. Did you see Benny Johnson leaking Hillary Clinton deposition? I heard something about Hillary Clinton's deposition, but no. What happened there?
This is the first time I'm hearing about Benny Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard that. Anything that was discussed in that leak, we don't know about it. So if you're watching this later, sorry about that. But I did want to talk about the Clinton deposition because, oh my God, I hate them. I fucking hate the Clintons. They're going to do nothing. Like, they are going to not say anything. And why? Like, I really don't understand why they think there's any sort of reputation or legacy to maintain at this point. They have a chance to go out guns blazing. Hillary can kill her most hated enemy. Oh my God. Bill can just not. I mean, he'll go down as a fucking sex pest anyway. He's not going to be remembered well. You have to imagine whatever he's covering up still is going to come out. Maybe after you die, bro, and you don't have to deal with it, but you can go out on your sword. You can go out fighting. You can be the guy who took the ship down with him and be the hero. And he's not going to do it tomorrow. He's just not going to do it. That's very clear from what it wasn't. I didn't see leaks, but I saw just notes on it on Hillary's deposition today. Like, she's saying she's never met Epstein, whatever. I don't know. I don't get the strategy, TJ. I don't get why the Clintons are doing what they're doing. I know that they never really gave a shit, but it just is sad to see that probably the person who has the most ability to take this thing tumbling down in Bill Clinton is just not going to do it. And it's incredibly disappointing. Not surprising, but disappointing.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have anything. I don't know. Maybe all his stuff is just with Epstein. He doesn't have any concrete proof. So, yeah. But then again, if you don't, just fucking lie. Just lie.
Right? Yeah. What's going to stop you?
Just lie.
You're gonna die in like 5 minutes.
Yes, I would go. If I were Bill Clinton, I would go on stage. I would present my testimony as like, yeah, I saw Donald Trump fuck everything that moved. The guy was fucking, underage individuals. He was fucking animals. I mean, I would give them the most fantastical testimony that a human being has ever come up with. And yeah. What are they going to do? Charge you with perjury again? You saw how that works. There, he got away scot-free. He was fine. And yeah, he's going to be dead in 10 minutes anyway. Just go for it, man. Be a legend now. Your legacy is already tarnished. It's already ruined. When you're dead, people are going to remember you for the sex crimes more than the presidency, honestly. Yep. Try to take someone down with you. Do something good. This reminds me, well, I mean, in a perverse way, but do you remember in Alabama when Roy Moore was running for Senate? He was a Republican who they found out was had committed stat rape against a 14-year-old in his 30s or something like that. And so the Democrats ran someone against Roy Moore and actually won. We had a Democratic senator in Alabama or Louisiana, in Alabama. And that actually, he'd probably win today. The pedophile would win today. They wouldn't care. But back then, he won. And the guy governed as a conservative Democrat. And I'm thinking, why? Why would you do that? You're going to be a one-term senator. The only reason you got that seat was because you ran against a literal pedophile and the whole state found out and you won by the skin of your teeth. The next time they have a chance to vote for Republican, they will. You should be fucking Leon Trotsky out there. There's no reason you shouldn't be gunning for every progressive policy possible, but nope, he played it safe. I don't understand.
Conservative of the Ozarks commented, Clinton was totally willing to lie when it served him. And that's very true. He's willing to lie to serve himself, but he's not willing to lie to serve the American people. Not that one. But it's sad because he can. Like, he's the only one, not the only one, but the only one who everyone knows was there. Like, we're all in agreement on both sides of the aisle that Bill Clinton was deeply involved in this scandal. And he's going, like, again, his legacy is not, people are not going to remember the economic boom of the 90s. I'm sorry. That was very relevant to Bill Clinton at the time. They're not going to remember it. Just like we don't remember most of the things the founding fathers did. But you know, one thing we do definitely remember, and just every day that goes by makes them look worse and worse and worse. Raping people and owning slaves. That just sticks with you forever. And so this information is going to come out. It's going to ruin him. I guess he wants to die first, but it's really sad and self-serving that he's unwilling to do what it takes to at least turn his awful crimes into something good. Anyway,
once again,
I did have to address this. TJ, you are a degenerate cokehead, and I'm definitely a sexual deviant and maybe a predator. I really like that, even though you're just making total random shit up and I do not know who you are, you still preface it with maybe a predator. Like,
maybe.
You didn't want to go too far with your lie and just accuse me of being a predator. He didn't. Funny. I had to give it to him too.
He didn't want to be sued for libel or something like that. But listen, if you said that like TJ is a coke addict and John is a deviant and a predator, 2 out of 3. You got 2 out of 3, I think. I think 2 out of 3 right there. I won't say which ones, but we'll just go with the 2 out. And this is a funny comment from Conservative of the Ozarks. Colby mentioned that we were kissing, and John and I denied it. And she said they may have been kissing someone, though. All right, fair enough. That is a fair point. Can't deny that. And Colby, this is a sacrilege. If TJ can turn to his left and John to his right and lean over, they can kiss between camera frames. Colby, you've been banned from the show. No more of this. Colby has gone too far. This is outrageous.
We're gonna like wake up one day. We're gonna see like there's gonna be a fan fiction of us online.
Oh, gross!
Written by Colby. And by the way, you got your side swapped there. I have to turn my left to face TJ.
Is it like, I don't know, is it reversed when it airs? I don't know, but all right, so let's go. We waste enough time here. All right, so earlier the comment disappeared. I don't know where it went, but someone wrote on there that they were nauseous about the title of the show. And I titled the show, Tucker Carlson Will Be the Next President of the United States. John and I have said many times that if Tucker Carlson decided to run, don't know if he will, I think he'd have an excellent shot of winning. I think that he is more skilled than any Republican politician I've seen out there, and he would mop the floor with them. And he has the intelligence, which is really scary in a fascist like Tucker Carlson, to actually know how to work the media and know how to present his message and come up. He kind of like in a Charlie Kirk style, but better than Charlie Kirk. He's better than Charlie Kirk in being accepted by your average random person who is okay with the racism, the way it's framed by Tucker Carlson. And I wanted to ask John, did you ever get around to watching any of the clips between him and Mike Huckabee?
No, it's very funny because you totally told me to do that, and I was going to, and you canceled the show, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll put that off, and then I totally forgot about it. And then I like logged on to StreamYards like half an hour before this show, and I saw what the title was, and I was like, shit, I don't have time to watch them. So you're gonna be getting right. I have like read things from this. I have not seen many of the clips, but I have read many of the quotes and captions.
This is great. This is great news because I get your raw reaction from this. Okay. So a few days ago, Tucker Carlson sat down with former governor of Arkansas and current U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee was kind of the forerunner of the solid religious conservatives that permeate the Republican Party these days. You had a lot of people like that. You had your Rick Santorums, people like that. But Mike Huckabee was an actual preacher, and he lost a ton of weight to it. He ran for president a couple of times, but he's always been on the vanguard. Like I am the religious conservative guy. I'm always talking about Jesus, talking about God. So of course they send him to Israel, but Tucker Carlson, this is one of the reasons that we say Tucker's going to be so good if he decides to, venture into politics, is that every now and then he stumbles onto a good position for the wrong reason. Like, for example, he's a racist. He's anti-Semitic, and so he's against Jewish people. And so he uses that to criticize the actions of Israel rather than, for a humanitarian reason. So this is a question that he asked Mike Huckabee, John. That's a great question. I won't even preface it. I'll just let Tucker go on to talk about this, about Israel's right to that land and what is it based on. Here we go.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be,
not sure it would go that far. It would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
All right, John. Your thoughts. Were you surprised by Mike Huckabee's statement? Because that's a great question. It is a great question. I will pull up a map in a little bit for the Geographically Challenged on exactly what the Nile to the Euphrates looks like, but it's a lot bigger than what Israel has right now. What were your thoughts on that, John?
It covers parts of Africa, DJ.
Yes.
It's a great example
Here it is.
of what makes Tucker, it's massive.
For those of you wondering, the yellow part right there is what currently constitutes Israel. Well, no, the yellow part and a little below. I don't know why that's not there, but that constitutes the state of Israel as we know it. And from the Nile River over there in the west in Egypt and Africa, as John said, past the Sinai Peninsula, all the way deep into Iraq, the northern part of Saudi Arabia, and most of Syria. That is what the book of Genesis, the Bible, says that God gave to his people. So if you're going to use Genesis 15 as a rationalization and say, this land belongs to them, that is what you're fighting for. And Mike Huckabee doesn't back down. He says, I'm fine if they take over at all. Sorry, John.
No, it's a massive fucking flub from Mike Huckabee. He should know better. And Mike Huckabee is not the sharpest tool in the shed. He's kind of a zealot. He says a lot of things that he shouldn't. But Tucker is so good at this because he understands the playbook better than the politicians do. Tucker Carlson so intimately understands the conservative political playbook that he can just wield it against the Mike Huckabees of the world to utterly corner them. Because in Republican land, it's totally okay to say, we should do this because God said so. That's just something that gets said all of the time and never gets questioned. It doesn't matter how ludicrous it is. And so when a Republican comes on a Republican's talk show, they feel comfortable saying shit like that. And Mike Huckabee does know his shit. He knows he can't say, Tucker, you're wrong. he knows that what the Bible says, and he's just been using this bullshit line, assuming that no one would ever question him on it. And Tucker Carlson knew that. And when he tried to move away from it, Tucker was like, no, come back here. Answer this very simple, straightforward question. He delivered it to his audience to make it a very clear, there's no way out of this. It's very understandable what he's saying. And Huckabee had to either bite the bullet or say he was wrong. There was only two options, and he decided to bite the bullet. And it's wonderful to watch because it just really strips bare the entire ethos. And that is why Tucker Carlson, if he wants to be, will be. You said the next president of the United States. I really am not. I do not think the next president of the United States will be a Republican, given standard electoral principles here. But like, if it is a Republican and Tucker Carlson wants it to be him, it's going to be Tucker Carlson. Like, I just can't. He's better than everyone else at doing this.
Yeah, the only one stopping him is himself at this point. He's Jon Stewart in 2016, basically. I think that Tucker Carlson, like, it's his for the taking if he wants it. A lot of people in these positions don't want to be president because Tucker Carlson does wield an insane amount of power for someone who isn't in political office, having media and cultural influence. I can see why he wouldn't want to take the responsibility and the hassle and the work of being president of the United States. But if he wants the job, he would definitely be up there. I trust him to win more than J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or something. Like, he would, like when Trump would go on stage and just mop the floor with it. And I'm so glad you brought this up, that Tucker has been in the right-wing ecosystem for such a long time. He knows how these folks think. He knows how they act. He knows where their arguments come from. He knows the flaws in their argument. He's basically the Blade, like the daywalker of the right wing. He can just take these people down at any time he wants. And he keeps going. John, there's like 6 clips. I don't know if I'll play all of them this episode, but
let's play some more. I do want to hear these because, like, even there, like, he is genuinely also has great delivery. Like, we say this about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is genuinely a funny person. So is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson not only is a funny person, but he is a well-practiced funny person. He understands. He has the very strong media training. He is the media training. He has been doing this. It's like how when Stephen A. Smith like goes into like political talk circles and just walks the floor with everyone he's talking with because he was created in the flames of sports talk media, and just how much crazier and more intense that is than political talk. And now that political talk is becoming like sports talk, Stephen A. Smith is dominating in it. Tucker Carlson has that same level of polish and finish on his craft that Stephen A. does, but he also intimately understands the political playbook, and that's why he's so dangerous.
Yeah, this is like Bane when he started talking to Batman about how he was born in the darkness, and you've just adopted it. Like, we're playing on 2 different levels here, my brother. So this one is Tucker talking to Mike Huckabee. In the last clip, he said that he wanted to know the actual definition of what the land is. Fair question, right? Absolutely fair. If you're going to argue that the Bible guarantees a certain plot of land to a certain group of people, tell me exactly the parameters of this land. Now he moves to, who are the people you're talking about? Which is a great question too. Here we go.
You're dodging a very obvious question, which is, where does this right come from? And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
They're Jewish.
By what definition?
They're Jewish by their
But how do we know they have any connection
They're
to
Jewish
the
by
Jews
their
of the,
faith. They're
of the
Jewish
Bible?
by the connection to the language. Jewish by the connection to the Torah.
But how do we know that Bibi, specifically Bibi's ancestors, ever lived here? How do we know that?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
How do we know if the Prime Minister of Israel's ancestors ever lived?
Maybe I could ask you, how do we know they didn't? I mean,
Well, it's on the basis of the claim that they did that all kinds of things happen. People are displaced. There's a money flow. I mean, it's a big question. A lot hangs on this. It's not some theoretical thing like, oh, did my grandparents do this or do that? It's like, no, we have a right to be here because my ancestors were here. Okay, how do we know they were here?
I'm totally unable to process what you're trying to get at.
Got his ass. All right, I'll tee that up for you, John. You go first on this.
It's wonderful. And that time he decided to not bite the bullet. He decided to not. He saw that bullet and he's like, that's gonna taste really bad going down my throat. I'm not biting that shit, because it's like what Tucker is saying is entirely right. And again, let's preface this all with Tucker Carlson. He's a tad anti-Semitic, a tad. And so a lot of his criticism of Israel isn't, while he makes very strong logical positions, it is tinged with bias. So everyone take that little grain of salt with this. But everything he just said was entirely true. I have been against the idea of like ethnic right to self-determination forever, because of this same exact point that Tucker Carlson is making, in that it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's all kind of made up bullshit. It doesn't make any fucking sense why someone has more of a right to land because of their inheritance in an ethnic or religious group than anyone else's. If they were born there, that's them. That's where their life starts. Your life starts at fucking birth. It doesn't start 2,000 years ago with your great fucking ancestors. And even if it did, a lot of these people can't even fucking prove that. It's just their Jewish identity. And they say, oh, well, so I should be there. And it's like, okay, I'm cool with you being there. The problem is you saying you have supremacy over the land, over other groups of people based on your ethnic identity. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And as soon as you put a fucking magnifying glass up to it and look at it for what it is, like Tucker Carlson just did, Mike Huckabee can't even answer the fucking question. He acts, instead of answering the question, he acts like it doesn't make any sense, but it does. It makes perfect sense. If you're saying that Bibi Netanyahu's claim to this land is based on his fucking ancestry, which is insane, and we would take that argument, we would be like, well, that doesn't make sense on its face, but Tucker Carlson doesn't need to do that. Tucker Carlson, he's one of them. He's totally okay with ethnic claims to land. He's a white nationalist himself, right? Well, he's okay with that. His issue here is what makes fucking sense that, it doesn't make sense that like this Jewish person who could be Jewish because of their ancestry, could be Jewish because people converted to Judaism, and it has nothing to do with their ancestry. Like there's a million different reasons you could be Jewish that don't relate to you had ancestors that were ethnically cleansed from fucking the land that is now Israel or whatever land they're trying to conquer now. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And yet that's, and even in his response, Huckabee was like, oh, well, there's the language, the faith in the Torah. And it's like, no, none of that is actually fucking required. I'm Jewish. I could move to Israel and I have to like pretend to be Jewish for a minute as I get in. But once I'm there, once I have citizenship, I don't have to pretend to be Jewish anymore, like religiously Jewish. But just based on my technical Jewish lineage of my ethnicity, I have a claim to that land, that someone who's been living there, literally born there, their parents were born there, their great-grandparents were born there, they can't even remember an ancestor that wasn't born there, they have less of a claim to it. Makes no fucking sense. Makes no sense by any stretch of the definition, and that's what Hucker's calling out here. And there's no, like, Huckabee doesn't know what he's playing anymore. He's just like, I don't understand the question, man. It doesn't make any sense, even though it's very fucking clear.
It is pretty clear, and it's not a difficult question. It's very simple. He's just asking you to abide by the same logic you're asking everyone else to abide by. And like the whole idea that someone commented, I can't remember where it was, but someone mentioned that the Hebrew language originated in that area, so people who speak that language have the right to that area. John, you already pointed out a flaw in this, that, well, does this only apply to people who speak? And by the way, this Hebrew, current Hebrew is not the same as ancient Hebrew. It's it's different language, dialect, I guess. But does that apply for everybody?
I hate the language, that any language argument, like language-based ancestry argument, makes no fucking sense, because the English we speak is not the same English that fucking 100 years ago people spoke. It's not the same English that fucking 200 years ago people spoke. Certainly isn't the same fucking English that people spoke 600, 800, 1,000 years ago, totally different languages, not the same thing at all, and yet people use that as a reason of like fucking heresy.
That is, yeah,
No,
that is funny.
verifiably
This is, yeah, this is like not going to be surprising. One of my big hobby horses with etymology and everything. You can go back about 600 or 700 years max in English before you can't understand any of it. If you read, I think Geoffrey Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales in the 1300s. Someone check me, maybe it was 1400s. But if you read the Canterbury Tales as Geoffrey Chaucer wrote it, you could understand about half of it. Like it's really weird. But now you go back 1,000 years, you go back to the formation of the British government. The English crown, like in Alfred the Great in the 800s, it looks like German. It is indecipherable. Yep. You can't tell what it is. So, like, when does it start and when does it end? Also, let's say it was. Let's say that English was the language. It hasn't changed at all in 1,200 years. Do we have a right to England since we speak it? Is that the logic we're going? Does the entire South American continent have an ancestral right to Spain because they speak the language?
My ancestors were ethnically cleansed from Ireland. Do I have a right to just go and like say, "Hey, Ireland, that's my fucking"? No, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
John, I'm glad you brought this up because Tucker Carlson brought up a similar point. Here we go.
In Ireland, which is also a country with a nation of people, a race, if you will, that is being replaced.
Who are they being replaced by?
Immigrants.
Okay.
From other places.
I just wanted to clarify because I was one of the...
Well, just as a demographic matter, it's just like you can look at the numbers. It's not controversial. Just look at the numbers. There'll be a minority in their country. And their people have been there longer than Jews have been in Israel. Yeah. And so they're having this debate too. That's all I'm saying. And lots of places are having this debate.
Sure.
So does that principle apply to everyone, or is it specific just to Israel?
I think it applies specifically to Israel.
Okay, of course. Now, I don't know what point in the interview this is, but it does seem Huckabee's just kind of giving up. It's like, yeah, I'm going with the special pleading argument. I'm going because you kind of have to. And that is the honest way to look at this. Because, look, if you want to say that people, ancestral lands from thousands of years ago, and there's a gap. It's not like there's been a continuation of this nation state. Like I think the ancient state of Israel, I think it collapsed in 586 BC. I think that's when the southern kingdom fell. But it's not like it's been the same country the entire time. You have to apply this to everyone. You have to apply this to literally everyone. Give me a good reason the Native Americans should not own the United States of America. Give me one, because that's a much more recent claim. It's within the last 300 or 400 years that the land of the United States, the 50 states, were controlled by Native American populations. Why don't they have that? If the UN came out and said, okay, we're gonna break up the United States, we're gonna have it all these sections ruled by the Seminoles, the Iroquois, the Cherokee. You think Americans who support the genocide in Israel would go for this? Of course not, because it's a ridiculous claim that requires on special pleading.
And it's really upsetting. I don't know. It's might equals right. Like that like all the way down to its core here, it's might equals right in that the Israel is able to do it because they can. That's basically the entire argument, that Israel is able to do it because, and they'll say, oh, well, Jews have never been safe anywhere. And it's like, there are a lot. First of all, I really hate that argument too, because Jews are not one people. The Jews have been safe here in America. You know, the anti-Semitism exists. It's a thing that affects Jewish people 100%, but there's never been any sort of mass casualty event for Jewish people here in America for our entire country's history of existence. Always been safe here, despite rampant anti-Semitism. So the argument that they need Israel to exist to keep Jewish people safe just doesn't make any fucking sense at all whatsoever. And there's plenty, like the Native American people, ever since Europeans got here, have been genocided constantly. There has not been a single moment that the Native American people have been in contact with people from anywhere else in the world and have not been victims of genocide. Constantly, the entire time. We are currently occupying territories such as Puerto Rico, of where people who have Native American heritage, many people have Native American heritage and slave heritage, by the way, because that's what fucking happened that the Europeans did. We just don't give them equal rights because of where they're born in Puerto Rico. There's so many people, groups of people that you can make these claims about, that the only way you can justify Israel belonging to the Jewish people is, it's just we can do it because we're giving them the fucking weapons to stake their claim and hold it. It's really the only difference between them and the Native Americans. The Native Americans had Israel's military resources. They could make the same fucking argument.
Yeah. It's if you look to the history of this, because like what John mentioned about the postulation that Israel, and look, I don't go on record saying that I don't think Israel should exist. I don't say that. I wouldn't go that far. I think that Israel has a right to exist as a state of equal rights for all people within the bounds of their country. That makes sense to me. That it should be a secular democracy with equal rights for all. And people on the other side say, no, it shouldn't actually. That can't work. So, okay, well, then we have a disagreement on what this place should look like or what any country should look like. And of course, the argument that comes back is, well, why don't you have a problem with the existence of Muslim states? I do. Okay. This is not a trick question. It's not going to work on us, right? That if the reason that people criticize Israel more than say Saudi Arabia is because if I come out and say Saudi Arabia is corrupt, Saudi Arabia is doing human rights violations, Saudi Arabia is invading foreign governments and taking over the sovereignty of other people, I'm not going to hear a fucking peep. I won't hear a word. No one's going to be there. How dare you criticize Saudi Arabia? You must hate Muslim people. No. But when I say about Israel, it immediately, you must be anti-Semitic, and that's bullshit. Israel is not exempt from criticism. And the point I was getting to is when John said Israel, the argument that Israel offers safe harbor for Jewish people in the world, because no denying it whatsoever. Historically, Jewish people have been persecuted all over the place. It happens. It's not a rare occurrence. So I got that. And I do understand immediately after World War II, where people said, we need to find a safe place for Jewish people to protect them from this happening again. Also a little suspicious that the Europeans wanted so badly to get the Jewish people out of there. Little suspicious if you ask me.
It was explicitly stated by many of the leaders of Zionism that were not Jewish that, hey, this is a great way to get the Jews out of our country. This is not speculation. This is written record. You can go back and look at it, guys. This is the case.
And what a lot of people may not know is that when the early participants of the Zionist project were trying to set up a homeland for Jewish people, Israel was not the only. They also considered, I think, Argentina and Ghana, I think it was Ghana and Argentina were two places that were on the list too. And they settled on Israel for the historical reason, whatever. But it could have been somewhere else, and I guarantee the arguments would have been the same. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if it was an actual different location. They still would have run with it. But this has been going on for a long time. And what I wanted to pull up here, which one did I have? The information about, okay, this is a little off course. No, there was one where he talks about the rights of Palestinian people to live in Israel. Because like John said, John has more of a right to live in Israel. And to my knowledge, you've never been to the place, right?
No, I kick myself all the time, Pete. I so badly wish that when I was a virgin, because I think it's 25 is when you can't take birthright anymore. If I could be wrong about that's about there. Mm-hmm. And I had just started getting into counterpoint politics at that time. If I had really had the platform I do now, and I had the opportunity to take birthright citizen, the birthright trip, I would have done it in a heartbeat. That would have been so amazing. That would have been creme de la creme. I'm surprised more people don't do it, to be honest. I don't know why that is. I don't know if they prevent people from doing it. I really don't know what the case is because I never really strongly looked into it, mostly because I'm not a big travel guy. But I don't know why more Jewish, there's a lot of Jewish left-wing pro-Palestinian content creators. I don't know why they don't take birthright and just fucking make a shitload of content over it.
I don't know. It's a personal story, but years ago, a friend of mine went on a birthright trip to Israel, and when she told me she was going, this is a long time ago. This is more than 10 years ago. I remember thinking, I should probably warn her that this is a propaganda tool people use to garner support for genocide. And I didn't. And now she's a huge genocide supporter. And I it's probably not my fault. I don't know if it would have changed anyway, but it's just sad that I kicked myself for not doing that because we're not even friends anymore. Like we actually ended our friendship over it. But so I don't think that would have happened to John. But I don't know. It's hard for me to think. Oh, I wish more people would do this because it's just kind of gross.
Well,
but,
I wish more people who were already solidly invested in this conflict and weren't as susceptible to this specific type of propaganda. Because like if I had gone, it wouldn't have fucking worked on me. You know, like I can't imagine they have fucking like hypnotists over there that are like, it's pretty standard propaganda techniques they're using. And I have learned about many of them and would not be affected by them in the slightest, I imagine. But yeah, one quick note here before we move on. I just had to call out. Colby said Argentina got its own European refugees after World War II.
Ooh.
Great comment there. Great comment. If you know, you know.
Excellent job, Colby. All right, so this is Tucker Carlson asking about the fact that, so like say John, who does not speak Hebrew, either ancient or modern, has never been to Israel, does not practice Judaism, but since he has Jewish heritage and Jewish ancestry, he has a right to live in Israel, become an Israeli citizen, when a Palestinian who also lives within the borders of Israel does not. And this is Tucker's question to Michael.
Dodging a very obvious question, which is where does this right come from? And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that.
We watched this.
A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about, they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
They're Jewish.
By what definition?
They're Jewish by their...
How do we know that any definition that they did, that all kinds of things happen? People are displaced. There's...
Oh, it's the same one. Sorry, John.
The same one.
Sorry. Let me see. Where was here? Tucker Carlson, Ireland.
It's very funny, by the way, while you look for this, that like I mentioned Ireland and then he actually mentioned Ireland. Very, very funny. And also for all the wrong reasons. Like the whole and I do want to get to the whole like culture war thing that we teased at the end of last night's show.
Yes.
Very related to that whole like, hey, they're being replaced. You know, demographically, they're being replaced, and they don't know. And Tucker knows this. That's what makes Tucker good. Tucker knows they're not being replaced. He's very keenly aware of that. That's not what the word replaced means. If you're still there, you haven't been replaced. But we'll get into that. We're definitely going to get in. What are you pulling up here?
Okay, so this one is going to be about Israel and how good of an ally they actually are. And this is a pretty good one, Tucker brought.
And I just want to make sure that I pronounce this man's name correctly. It's Tom, I believe, Alexandrovich. I think that's right, and I've written it down, but of course my handwriting is so terrible I can't read it. But yes, he is an Israeli, I believe, cybersecurity official who was at a conference in Las Vegas last year and was caught up in a sting designed to catch people soliciting sex from children. He was one of a number of people arrested for this. He was arraigned and charged. And then 2 days later, he fled to Israel and did his first hearing by Zoom. He was allowed for some reason to leave for a foreign country, having already been charged for attempted molestation of a child. And he remains here now. And there have been many news stories about this. And I just wonder if you would ask the Israeli government to put him on a plane and send him back to face justice for attempting to molest an American child. It doesn't seem complicated.
No, I wouldn't mind doing that, but I want to find out if the Justice Department of the U.S. has already sought to extradite him. Is there anything in process? I don't know.
Why wouldn't they seek to extradite him?
I have no idea. That's a question for the Justice Department.
I have many questions for the Justice Department, like why are millions of Epstein files still classified? What do you think that is?
I have no idea. I haven't kept up with that. I've never met the man. I don't know him.
You haven't kept up with the Epstein disclosure?
I mean, only from a distance. I'm 6,000 miles away from D.C. these days, and I'm pretty sure that there's so much going on.
Current president of Israel, President President Herzog,
going very well.
Apparently was at Pedo Island. That's what it says in the disclosures. And of course, we know that the former prime minister, Ehud Barak, was living on and off at Epstein's house.
All right, John, had you heard any of this information? And what are your thoughts here? How do you think Mike Huckabee handled that?
I mean, I think Mike Huckabee handled it about it. Mike Huckabee should not be on Tucker Carlson's show. I don't know why Republicans keep doing this. He's clearly destroying them. Like when he gets them in his jaws, he does not let go. And I don't understand why Mike Huckabee, who is, by the way, in a very precarious political position, like being the U.S. ambassador to Israel during these trying times is it's something where you could say the wrong thing and it could be very, very bad for a lot of people. And he's just going into a lion's den, who he should know is very much anti-Israel. And he just walks in there as if he's going to be buddy. And he's just like, yeah, I haven't been following the Epstein stuff. It's just like the president of the country you are an ambassador to was implicated as being on this island, and you aren't aware of that? Are you shitting me, Mike? Like, are you really trying to tell me? And even his answer about the other sex offender, and you could tell Tucker was setting him up. He was setting him up. He's like, clearly you would ask to extradite, right? And he's like, well, yeah, of course I would. You're fucked. You're fucked, Mike. You're dead in the water. You are come. He has you. And I don't understand why they keep doing this to themselves, TJ. The case for Tucker Carlson being the next president of the United States is being laid bare in front. People used to think Mike Huckabee could be the president. I want to be very clear about this. And that ship has sailed. But in 2016, he was in the running. And he was a front runner at a point, I think. And he ended up being a Trump supplicant. And that's how he let his political career continue. But Tucker can do this to any of them, literally any of them. There really isn't any like people in the Republican ecosystem right now who are better at this than Mike Huckabee, and he's just absolutely mollywopping.
This is why I am more confident than you that I think Tucker could win in 2028, because he keeps doing this. He keeps eviscerating Republicans. That's how Trump got into position of power in 2016. Yep. He didn't do it by being buddy with any Republicans. He went after their throats. He saw that everyone believed, like if you guys weren't paying attention back then or weren't around, in 2016 or 2015, everybody knew that Jeb Bush was going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. Everybody knew that. It was a given. Like it was safe money to bet on Jeb Bush. Trump crushed him immediately. He saw the threat and went after him right away. And he went after him by doing something that was anathema to any conservative other than Donald Trump, when he said, yeah, George W. Bush fucked up on 9/11. Like he got caught with his pants down. Then he led us into a war in Iraq, which we're about to get to another clip about this with Tucker. And then he led us to a war in Iraq, and it was disastrous. No Republican had the balls to say that in 2015. Trump said it to thunderous applause, and that crushed Jeb Bush's dreams from that point forward. So yeah, I think that as long as he did this to Ted Cruz a little while ago, he did this to Mike Huckabee. These people, in the beginning of the interview, Mike Huckabee said, Tucker, I heard you say some stuff about Israel, so that's why I wanted to come here and clear the air. Huckabee thought he was going in for a friendly interview. He thought there's some mild disagreements, but I'm going to set him straight. And afterward, Mike Huckabee's Twitter page is just full of insults to Tucker. Like he's like personally offended by it. Tucker Carlson, it seems like he's playing a long game here. Like I don't know why. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it anymore. But this clip right here is about the Iraq, or not the Iraq War. There is one about that, but this is about, fuck it, hold on. Can you stall for a second, John? Because there's one about Iraq too. There's so many clips here.
And this is specifically why I don't know if Tucker is like, I'm running for president, but the clock is ticking on him making that decision, because I don't think this window stays open long. Like, And maybe he's looking at 2028 and going, oh, the Democrats are going to absolutely clean house. But I think, like, if I'm Tucker Carlson, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the tea leaves right now. A failed presidential bid in this climate, if done the right way, could make you a power broker within the party to a greater extent than you are. Because we've already seen that Tucker got sidelined, completely sidelined. And he has been able to maintain relevance for himself through his own perseverance. Like, there has not been a systemic reason why Tucker Carlson is still relevant. It's just because he's good at what he does. And he's built his platform back up from the ground up. and proven, hey, it wasn't Fox News, it was me. And I was wrong about that. I thought he'd be irrelevant, and
Me
he
too.
has made a platform for himself. He might feel like he needs to keep building that, but fuck, the iron is hot, bro. And there's no one who would oppose him. He would crush. He would absolutely crush, because all of the Republicans who are going to be upset at Trump is about to get his dick handed to him in the midterms. There's going to be a lot of Republicans that are very mad at the Trump administration and the MAGA movement in general. And they're not going to go back to the fucking old school Republicans that also got their dicks handed to them. They're going to be looking for something new. And Tucker Carlson is positioned in this perfect spot of, he's going to attract the racists. He's really good at it. He always has been. The more moderate old school conservatives are going to be like, oh, Tucker, he's been around forever. He was here back in the good old days. We can support him too. And he's going to eviscerate everyone whenever they put a camera in front of their faces. So I don't know. Like, the only reason he wouldn't do it is if he just genuinely doesn't want to be president. Like, that's the only reason why he wouldn't do it. Because if he wants to, he has a very serious chance of winning, because I just, in any head-to-head matchup, I don't see him losing.
If you don't think Tucker Carlson wins, someone say, who do you think would beat Tucker Carlson in a debate in the Republican Party? I'd love to hear the answer on this. I want to put a shout out here.
I want to say, it's not just a debate. He wins on everything. He wins
every
on
metric.
Social media. He wins in the normal media. He wins in a debate. He wins in just the ability to attract headlines and gain attention for himself. He's better at all of the things required to win the presidency of the United States, except having the political engine behind him. But Donald Trump proved that, at least in the Republican Party, you definitely do not need that at all. It can be helpful for sure, but the last three Republican nominees have not had the engine behind them. It's all been Donald Trump. But like, I don't see any reason why you can't look at 2028 and be like, yeah, it's going to be the same thing. There is no engine anymore. The engine is Trump, and the engine's about to come out of the car, and it's got to be replaced with something.
That's so true about the fact that the engine isn't behind Donald Trump and never really has been, not enthusiastically at least. That if you look at the beginning of Trump's quest to become president back in 2015, the Republican media was not behind him. Republican politicians, look up every Republican politician in 2015 and find out what they said about Trump before he became the nominee. It was all true. They said this guy's a liar, this guy's a con man, this guy's going to drag down the Republican Party, this guy doesn't represent any of our values, he's a weird creep. All of it's true. The second he was nominated, they were behind him, and the people have the Republican intelligentsia, to the extent that it exists, they've never been behind Trump either. But it doesn't matter, because the people who vote in the primaries are the ones who are flying this plane. And this shows with the Republicans who are afraid to speak out against Trump. I saw some chart from dating back to 2016 for congressmen who had a Republican congressman who had more than like a 25% or under 25%, Trump approval. There's like 4 left. There was over 100 of them that spoke out against Trump or voted against Trump, and they're gone because it's a death sentence to go against Trump. So, like, if you wonder why Republicans are so insane, and they might lose in the primary for being so insane, but if they speak out against Trump, they won't make it, or in the general because they're insane, but they speak out against Trump, they won't make it to the general. They'll fail in the primary because Trump's going to back some insane person. But this is the clip for Tucker.
Here. Before we get to the clip, I want to address 2 comments. We have 2 good comments. One from Allison Gaff. Allison, thank you for being here. I don't think I've seen you comment before. Also, thank you for having a name that is very clear and legible. And also speaking in English. That's a big change for us on this show. But she said all the pro-Israel people won't vote for Tucker, and that's a good point. But I don't think Republicans really give a shit about Israel. Like, I think the people who really give a shit about Israel are Democrats. The Republicans just care about ethno-nationalism and that being a good thing. You can replace that with anything. Like, if Donald Trump came out as anti-Israel, it wouldn't hurt him at all. So I don't understand why you would think it would hurt Tucker Carlson. I don't think many Republicans actually, the evangelical Christians, sure, but Tucker's going to have them despite his position on Israel. Like, that's not important enough to them to like buck the trend and vote for a fucking Democrat. So I really don't see that hurting him. Maybe like some of them, but also I bet you, I could be wrong about this, but I bet you the Democratic nominee also isn't going to be pro-Israel. So I don't think that would actually matter in 2028 at least.
I agree. I understand where Allison's coming from here, but like then the Republican brain, if the example John gave was excellent. That if Trump or Tucker or anybody said, you know what, we're not backing Israel anymore, sure, a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives would be upset. They wouldn't like it. However, they would say, well, I want conservative Supreme Court justices. I want to make sure, I want to try to get abortion banned nationwide. I want to stop immigrants from coming in. I want to stop wokeness. I don't want boys and women's sports. That's going to override it. The vast majority of that. And I hate to say it, but the same thing, the reason that Trump wins isn't because of the dyed-in-the-wool, faithful Republican voter. That is not what is exactly that Treestop says, the culture war rules all. The reason that Trump wins isn't because of your standard Republican voter. He wins because of the people on the fringes, people who don't really care or participate that much in politics. They're going to hear, and we have some people say, "Oh, actually, I think the genocide in Israel is bad too," and he'll get those people on board. So yeah, I don't think it's going to affect much. What are they going to do? Vote for a Democrat? Let a Democrat win? They're not going to let that happen. So yeah,
by the way, it's the same reason the Democrats can abandon Israel too, because the dyed-in-the-wool, like mostly Jewish, super pro-Israel part of the Democratic Party isn't going to vote Republican. So what? It doesn't matter if if the Democrats can abandon Israel all the fuck they want. They're not going to vote for Trump. It's not relevant. People don't vote based on foreign policy. It just doesn't happen. Like people do not. There's never been an election in which foreign policy was a substantial needle mover in any post election polling. It has never happened. So I really don't think.
The Iraq War was pretty huge for elections.
The Iraq War.
Yeah,
the Iraq War. I mean, they lost in 2008, right? And the Iraq War had become relatively unpopular then, but there was a massive economic crisis. Like that's what people really fucking cared about. People didn't like the Iraq War wasn't really the needle mover in 2008, and he won in 2004 after we already invaded Iraq. And I know that it was more popular like at that.
It was super popular then, yeah.
Like it's just there's very little actual evidence that foreign policy matters in U.S. presidential elections. We talk about it way more than it actually impacts elections.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but no, like the Iraq War was huge. Like Bush was super unpopular before the economic crash. He was already tanking, and primarily because of the Iraq War. And I know this is before our time, but like Lyndon Johnson resigned because of his handling of the Vietnam War. He knew he wasn't going to win. I'll check the stats on this because now recently, I don't think there's been any example
the Vietnam War might be the last legitimate time. Yeah, like that legitimately did sink Lyndon B. Johnson. That is true. But that's a different like era. Like it's like comparing LeBron to Wilt. It's like, okay, like this is a different game that we're playing here, guys.
All right, and so speaking of the Iraq War, I found the clip. This is the one I'm talking about here.
How many boots on the ground has the U.S. placed on behalf of Israel?
However many went to Iraq. We did that for Israel.
No, I don't think we did.
You said we did it because of 9/11?
That was the U.S. justification for it.
But it wasn't 9/11. So what was the actual reason?
Well, the U.S. government told us it was for 9/11. They told us that we were part of it, that they had weapons of mass destruction.
But they knew they had nothing to do with 9/11, obviously. There's no evidence.
But I'm telling you that Israel was not in that component.
But Israel had no influence on our decision to invade Iraq. That's not what the people who made the decision say. They say Israel.
Well, let me get back to the point.
Gave us the information about the fake weapons of mass destruction. Where do you think the question was? It came from Bibi.
How many Americans put their boots on the ground for Israel? The answer is zero.
Everybody who served in Iraq put their boots on the ground for Israel.
Did not.
Where did we get the information about the weapons of mass destruction? It wasn't real.
We didn't get that from. You're saying we got that from Israel? That Israel was one pushed us into that?
Well, absolutely.
You really believe that?
I know that for a fact. Does every. Yes, this has been widely written about and discussed. And I'm not attacking Israel. Like they thought it was in their interest to take out a government that was paying the families of suicide bombers. I get it. I'm not mad at Israel about that. I never have been. I'm mad at the Bush administration and all the people who went along with this to the detriment of my country. That's who I'm mad at, not Israel. Bibi's doing what he can for his country, whether you agree with him or not. I want my leaders to do the same for my country. That's it.
All right, John, I'm sorry. I want to double tap this with his Iran one too to get your thoughts on both of those, because Tucker talked about the Iraq War and how he said, like, well, it was Israeli intelligence, which is true. Like that, no one tried to hide that Israeli intelligence was what we were relying on to look at the weapons of mass destruction. But Tucker also asked Mike Huckabee about whether or not the United States should go to war with Iran. And let's see his statements here, or whether I would be justified based on popular opinion.
Like, how much does it matter what Americans think?
Well, it matters what Americans think. That's why Americans vote. It's why Americans have the opportunity to have free speech. We want them to have that.
Okay, so what percentage of Americans support a war with Iran?
I don't know. Do you know?
I do. I think it's around, I saw the numbers yesterday. I think it was like 21%.
Okay.
Is that enough to have a war with Iran?
We don't live in a world where you have a poll taken to find out whether our policy should be a particular direction. Because
I thought you just said that
that's direct democracy. No, we care deeply about it. But on the other hand, do we make the decisions of foreign policy and even domestic policy based on
we
what
care
the
deeply
latest
about
poll
it in
number
what
is?
sense? If we're ignoring it, then in what sense do we, quote, care deeply about it?
Well, I think we care deeply when we see there's a threat.
No, but about Americans' opinions. So you've got 350 million Americans. They voted in this last election on the basis, in part, of the promise no more wars. Okay? So now we're about to have a war. Looks like 80% of people are against it. In that range, let's say 70%, but nowhere near majority support for this war. And it's not direct democracy, but it is a form of democracy. It's representative democracy.
The ultimate form of democracy in our system, in a republic, because we're not a true democracy.
Right, exactly. Right. It's a mediated democracy.
It'll be an opportunity for Americans to vote if they think that we've made wrong policy decisions. I personally think the president is making the right policy decisions.
But I guess, but you just said it matters deeply what Americans think, and if the overwhelming majority are against it, in what sense does it matter? Because what I hear is it matters what they think, but it really doesn't matter what they think because...
No, you take it in, you certainly ingest that.
And then what do you do with it once you ingest it?
You make sure that you have... No,
you just gotta... It goes out the other end, obviously.
All right, I want to add one thing you mentioned that Tucker was better at than the rest of the Republicans. It's being a smarmy dickhead, which, as we've seen, is the key to rising to the top of the stratosphere when it comes to Republican politics. But yeah, his annoying ass laugh that he just cackles right in front of your face for it. But what were your thoughts on either of those? I guess we're running out of time.
Yeah. No, oh my God, are we running out of time? Holy shit!
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
We the whole thing. Wow. We were late too. So, but anyway. You're right. The laugh actually is the every time he laughs, I hate him again.
It's terrible.
He needs to fix that. But it really won't actually matter if he wants to run. But this is a great example of why he is better at this than everyone else. He knows it's true. They don't care. They have to say they care, but they don't care. Tucker Carlson knows that. He didn't invent that playbook, but he propagated it as much as anyone in his time. And he just knows, oh, well, as soon as he got Mike to say, yeah, we care about the opinion of the American people, it's over. Chum in the water.
Yep.
It was already over for Mike, and Mike didn't realize it yet. And it's just an example of Tucker playing a better game. And everything he said there was true, by the way. Like everything he said about, in what sense? In what sense do you care? What do you mean by that? What would you say you do here? It's so obvious, and it's true in a way that we all know it. It's true in a way that we feel inside of us, whether we intellectually understand the argument or not. We feel that. The American people feel like the government does not actually care what we talk about, what we care about. We feel like the government will go to war with whoever, whenever, regardless of how we feel about it, because that's been the case since well before I was born, since Vietnam. Like it's been forever. And so we all deeply and innately understand this. And so Tucker just has to point it out and hold him to talking about it Republicans never hold each other talking about it, and Democrats don't either. When there's cross-aisle talk about these issues, no one ever holds each other to talk about them because it's all fugazi. Both sides will just say one thing and do another. And Tucker just said, well, what if we didn't? And he will. Tucker's fully supportive of the U.S. government not giving a shit about the democratic will of the people, but he also knows that you can't say that. And he has you by the balls.
I want to acknowledge Treestop. Thank you for the donation of $20 there. Treestop says, masterful performance by the white supremacist. I hate to admit it. Treestop, I don't know why you talk about John that way. That doesn't seem like a kind thing to do. John has been, he's been a cool guy. I don't know why you got to refer to him like that. But no, credit where credit's due. Tucker Carlson, it's like that Onion article or a headline you see from time to time. It's like, tragedy, the worst person you know, makes a great point. But since we only have like 8 minutes left here, what got the ball rolling on this, what made me think of this is what yesterday John was talking about the white supremacist wing. It's the entire party now, the Republican Party, but how it's changed over the years. It's mutated and it's grown. That stuff that was like blatantly racist. You couldn't really say in polite company, even amongst other Republicans, but now it's just standard. But Nick Fuentes, like an open, proud Nazi, is a significant influence among the right wing. He is not a fringe guy that no one listens to. He controls a lot of respect and a lot of influence, and it's specifically only with right wingers and Republicans. So what did you want to mention about that, John? Because you were talking about Trump signaling out Somalians in the State of the Union address, like wild shit.
So yeah, and the specific argument I wanted to discuss, and it relates to what he said about Israel, like this idea that like, hey, we can't have immigration from these countries because their culture is inferior. That's the argument that gets made. Now, even 4 or 5 years ago, everyone understood, or at least everyone in online political discussion circles understood, that people making that argument were fucking Nazis. That was just a bait and switch argument because it's unprovable. Like, you can't, there's no like empirical evidence, there's no like analysis you can do to say, hey, this culture is inferior. Straight up, just everything about it inferior. And therefore, anyone who comes from a country with that culture also inferior. Like that is the jump in logic, that they want to say these people are inferior, but they can't say that anymore. So they started saying their culture is inferior. And when you question them about it, they'll say things like, I don't know. Did you see the guy that was, I forget what position he was nominated for specifically. I think it was a State Department position, but he had his congressional testimony, his congressional hearing, and they questioned him about this because he said, hey, what about white culture's superior? And they're like, what about it? And he was like, I don't know. There's a certain like Irish Celtic warrior spirit tradition. And then it was Chris Murphy, I think, was like, you just mentioned Irish Celtic. That's ethnic. That's something different, not white. What about white culture is superior? And he just he didn't have an answer because he's a terrified fucking 4chan bro who can't actually stand up to scrutiny. But that argument that was emblazoned in the flames of 4chan and then brought into fringe right political discourse by the likes of Matt Walsh and even your Ben Shapiro's of the world, that now is being said by the president of the goddamn United States. Like, you can track the history of this argument back to the most vitriolically racist people you have ever met in your life. And it is now being repeated at the State of the Union by the president of the United States. That's terrifying, TJ. It's utterly terrifying, the speed at which that is happening. I don't really know what to do about it. I just kind of really hope that we have a really massive reckoning in 2026 and it throws those Redditors back in their fucking holes and they don't feel so confident saying shit like that anymore, because it has become so clear to me how fast it can happen, how fast that idea that our culture is superior to other cultures and therefore that makes us superior to the people in those cultures has now become so mainstream that it's being said by the president of the United States, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, Treestop commented, "Was it not always the only wing? I'm only 27, but maybe they had more chill during the 90s." I think it meant, has that always been the right wing? Yeah, they were actually more chill in the 90s. I shit you not, man. Even early 2000s, honestly, that the right wing has always been the home for the embittered and racists who felt like they had been slighted, that they saw the civil rights of others being gained as a loss of civil rights for themselves. That's how they always saw it. But they were always a lot more surgical and tactical about it. That, what was his name? Lee Atwater in the 80s. Lee Atwater was a Republican operative, and he said that, yeah, in the 60s, we realized that you couldn't say the N-word anymore. You couldn't do that. That was socially unacceptable. So we started replacing it with other words like busing or the war on drugs, just stuff that make. Or in the 80s, it went to welfare queens. And in the 90s, when they started like gearing up against the illegal immigration thing, a lot of Republican politicians, they would never say, "We don't want Mexicans here." What they would say is, "We need to protect American jobs." That was kind of the euphemism for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then Trump came along and just dropped all the euphemisms. And now everyone's dropping the euphemisms. So yeah, the racism has always been there. But what John and I are saying is that it's more blatant and explicit now. They don't feel the need to hide it anymore, which is a terrible sign. That the stuff that conservatives say now, there were always fringes on the right where people saying that, well, maybe women shouldn't vote. Now every other conservative I hear says that same thing, and that is not a good sign. And the fact that someone like Tucker's head writer for his show was kicked out of Fox News, like Fox News fired him for being too racist, was like posting all these racist posts and images and stuff on the internet, and he was hired by Charlie Kirk, by the way. But the fact that that guy wrote the #1 news program in the United States for years, that helped lead us to where we are. So I think that's what John is saying.
Yeah, and Kyle says here, the idea of cultural inferiority will always be arbitrary because people will pick out traits from a hat and say, that's why my culture is better. And it also relies on a fabricated past. And I just wanted to point out that is a very true statement that Kyle just made, because if you look at our fucking culture, bro, like the culture that brought you chattel slavery, the culture that brought you segregation, the culture that brought you the invasion of Vietnam, culture that brought you the only culture to ever nuke another people is ours. It's utterly insane what people will do to twist themselves into pretzels to say that our culture is just innately superior, but it fucking works because people don't actually question it. People generally, Americans do think our culture is superior. They genuinely do think we are superior to people born in other countries, and they hate when I fucking point that out. They absolutely hate when I point out that the idea that we should not allow people to live here is against the idea that all men are created equal. They get very mad about it, but it's innately true. If you believe all men are created equal, you shouldn't be determining who gets to live here based on where they're fucking created. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And there is an underlying, it's not necessarily white supremacist. I don't know necessarily what type of supremacist, but there is American supremacist is the default political position of the average American citizen. And that's easy to exploit.
Think how just calmly people say the United States is the greatest nation in the world, as if that means anything, as if that means anything at all. But you could think that, oh, my place is the best because I live here. All right, that's pretty common. But no, we genuinely believe that this nation is special. Like, we've been blessed by God, and that heaven itself granted us the Constitution, and so you can't question anything about it. That is how a lot of people live their life. It's actually shocking more people aren't like this. Like, when you go up through the American supremacy is real. Yeah, I agree. That's a perfect term for it, John, because it's people, like, we're tribal by nature. I noticed this when I was in school. Like, when your teacher would divide your class up into 1 and 2 groups, and then you'd have like a quiz or whatever, and you're in group 2, you're like, Group 1's a bunch of fucking cheaters. Group 1 sucks. We immediately do it. It's why we like sports so much. We love ritualized combat. And so that helps bond people together. It makes sense. You extrapolate that to nationalism and war gets involved, and it hacks the human system, the human brain, and leads into all sorts of bad directions. And
And
sorry,
by the way,
we gotta wrap
you
it
and I
up.
aren't saying that kind of tribalism is bad. We just were here saying, yeah, the Olympics, like fuck yeah, America go.
No, hell
Fuck
yeah.
all these other countries. It's just you have to leave that shit at the door when shit gets real. Like you have to recognize that this is for fun and games, but I don't actually like care more about the American competitor than I do on like a base human level than the Iranian competitor or whoever the fuck it is. Like, yeah, I'm gonna root for my team. I'm gonna root for my laundry. But at the end of the day,
Yes.
those two people are equal in my fucking mind, and that is not the average American.
It's all fun and games. Like, sure, if we're like playing the French basketball team, I may call them some slimy fucking frogs, but I don't really mean it, okay? It's not something that and Treetop says it's becoming a truly nationalistic ideology because a lot of black and brown people subscribe to this. This is something that John and I warn about all the time, that Democrats have been sitting on their asses and waiting for demographics to push them over the finish line. Demographics with national or race, ethnicity, and age. They just thought that we just gonna rest on our laurels and the young people, the minorities, keep voting for us. And John, I say all the time, that is a horrible strategy. As we saw, young men turn against you immediately. That could happen with anyone at the drop of a hat. If the Republicans just stopped being racist, they'd get 60% of the black vote easily. They'd probably get 70% of the Hispanic vote. I mean, yeah, a lot of like minority groups are pretty conservative culturally. So yeah, you need to make an argument. You can't just sit back and rely on the Republicans being evil. Any last thing to wrap it up, John? Sorry, I wanted to acknowledge Treestop comment there.
Yeah, no, it was a good comment. Treestop, thank you. You did give us $20. That was probably the biggest donation we've gotten. On the show. So congratulations, Treestop. Also wanted to say, Mark, not regular Mark, new Mark, said you are
new Mark.
And I just have to say that's very incorrect and very insulting. I'm a market socialist, not a communist. Market fuck out of
here. All right, we appreciate it. Any last words to wrap it up here, John?
No, this is a good show, TJ. This is a good show.
Fantastic. Really
if you
fun.
are watching here, like and subscribe. People this week, people are watching on your channel. The Power's Not Taken, Not Given, and not the Left Wing. So
weird.
If you're doing that right now, make sure to both subscribe to Power's Not Taken, and then also go over to the Left Wing channel and subscribe to that. And yeah, let's just go, TJ.
Thank you.
That's
the
show. See you guys. Actually, we will not see you next week. We're taking a break next week. I will be in a foreign country, and TJ. We'll be doing something else.
Where are you going? You mind saying?
I'll be in Colombia. So that'll be.
Oh, all right. Good times. I will be in California.
Okay, cool, awesome. So we will not be in our homes. So enjoy whatever wonderful political news comes your way next week. We certainly will be back out. But
put a pickle in my mouth. I wanted to give you props earlier because you wrote "please clap." That is a real good comment there. We were talking about Jeb Bush, and he wrote "please clap." That was great. And why we will be traveling to Colombia and California, and we're both traveling to bang your mom. All right, we will catch you guys later. Have a good one.